All right, we're getting along in the class and folks are getting their discussions posted and things like that. I wanted to go over a few things, a little bit on the discussions, because I know for most of you, this is the first time for you to go through this type of work. And I just want to give people a little bit of feedback on it, and so everybody sees how everybody's doing and generally what's the best way to go and things like that. So I just want to give a little feedback on the discussions, and then I want to start talking about getting ready for the first essay and the first assignments. So let me go through the discussion areas first, just again to get everybody moving in the right direction. Now, some of you have posted, many of you have not. And I'm going to go through with both of my online classes. You may or may not know I have two English 101s, and I'm going to go through both of them right now so you can kind of benefit from looking at both classes. Now, what I'm going to do is make a few comments on the postings that people have made on how to, what they're doing right and what can improve on them. But one thing I want to make very clear, I'm not, trying to publicly criticize or put anybody's work down. Generally, what I'm looking at is very good work, and I just want to give you everyone feedback so that they know when they're looking at this what they can do. Knowing this early on means you can improve them later on, and everybody needs to improve a bit on it, and it's just understanding how to make it better. Okay, so please understand you don't need to go back and think, oh my gosh, I've done the discussion all wrong. Nobody's done it all wrong. Everybody's done it in such a way that they need to improve a little bit, but that's every semester, and it's getting used to it. Understand that these are the early postings in the semester. I'm giving you feedback early on so that you can improve it. You do not need to go back and rewrite this early posting, okay? The discussion area is just that. It's a place where you discuss things, work on ideas, and develop them. You're not going to get graded down for getting something slightly off, early on. You're perfectly fine. So everybody's okay. I just want to give people, honest and straightforward feedback early on what's already been posted, so you can see and kind of be aware of, where we're going. Now, one thing I want to mention, and I'm going to come back to as we go through this, understand that the discussions are the foundation of what the assignment that's going to be turned at the end is called the journal. So you're going to take all the writing you do at the discussion boards, everything you see, and I'm going to go through it individually. You're going to copy it and then paste it into a Word file, and that's going to be your journal by the end of the semester. That's going to be your journal, a distinct assignment. So the journal is based on the discussions. That's what it is. That's why you want to be thorough with the discussion. You don't have to write things in a highly refined manner and worry about, hey, am I putting the commas in the right place or your spelling? I just really want to see that you've read the material and you're thinking about the material, maybe using some of the tools we're talking about in the class. So that's what I want to see. I expect for people in the discussion areas to have things be a little bit rough. I expect that, and that's acceptable. I encourage people to take chances and everything else and do things differently than I would. So I really want to encourage you in that. So let me go into the one in both of the classes. I'll go into the other one now. And I'm going to go into the discussion areas first, and then I'm going to try to set this up so you can see how it connects to the journal, and then how it's going to connect to the first essay. Okay, so let's go through one of the classes first, and we'll go into this first discussion. And I really commend these folks for being the first ones to jump in. Now again, I'm going to talk about these and point out some strengths and some weaknesses. If I point out strengths and weaknesses in yours, please don't think that if I point out a weakness that I think you're wrong. I just, point out areas where it can be stronger, but you don't need to go back and revise it. We're going to have, many posts throughout the semester, and you're graded holistically at the end on your journal. So if something needs to be developed a little bit, don't develop it right now. Just the next time you post, just, be aware of that, okay? So let me go through Valerie's here, and I'll go through this one a little bit and show you what she's done. Now, you can see what she's done. She's been very thorough, very detailed, and this is very good. She's got a good summary right here. This is great. Okay, that's what you're looking for, is a good, well-developed summary. And then she has scene 1. She has 3 metaphors. That's great. And then she has scene 2, 3 metaphors. You actually only had to get 3 metaphors for all of scene 1 and scene 2. So Valerie's done a little bit extra. That's not a problem. I don't want Valerie going back in and fixing this. This is good work. This is going to go in the journal. Again, she's putting in a great deal of effort. That's what you're looking for, okay, is effort. Now, let me walk through. So this summary is really great, okay? It really points out all the details. And one thing I'll tell you, there's like some spelling boo-boos and stuff in here. I don't care about that at all. Just write. Tell me what you think is going on. This basically just makes sure you have the plot down, okay? Now, the bit of the analytical skill is right here. These are the metaphors. Let me go through these metaphors and just give you, I'll go through one of them, and I'll go through one on a couple other students. For what his own search brought to light, his eyes ripped out by his own hand. Okay, that actually is a metaphor. And I'm doing this on the fly here. For what his own search brought to light, that is the metaphor right there. His eyes ripped out by his own hand, that's actually literal, okay? But this is a metaphor right here. Now, what's a little bit of an issue here is it's not going through the stages of the metaphor machine. And you'll see why this matters, okay? You need to first to state what is literally going on. What is literally going on if we strip away the figurative language. In other words, his knowledge, he found things out, and then he ripped out his own eyes. That's what it is, okay? That's what's literally going on, okay? What kind of language is being used? It's being used as if Oedipus himself was somebody searching and found something in the dark and put light on it. So it's light on something that was dark and could not be seen, okay? That's what it is. It's a search brought to light, okay? So it's as if you were searching in the dark and brought light to it. That's the metaphor. That there's darkness all around and he put light on it. So, and now they're not literally, it wasn't, the fact that he killed his father and slept with his mother was not literally in the dark. It was unknown. The dark and light idea is being used to describe the way people could not understand things and the way they were ignorant of them. Now it's clear to them, and it's as if sight is the method of understanding. That's the analysis. They're talking about understanding as if it were a visual, physical field. That's what he's doing, okay? So, and that's the analyzing. That's the third stage. You can do it differently, as in you can come up with a different analysis, and that's fine, but go through the early stages first before you step into the analysis. So what Valerie has here is for whatever one was searching for that would bring them hope could lead to disaster. That sounds sort of like it could be an analysis, but notice it's not doing the light and ignorance thing, how darkness is equated with ignorance and light is equated with knowledge, okay? So slow it down a little bit, and why equate ignorance with darkness and knowledge with light, okay? Why do that? Go into it a little bit more. So again, this is, you know, it's a good analysis. So in other words, what they didn't know about, actually, you know, knowledge is usually considered to be something positive, but in this case, it actually brings about the disaster. So I like what Valerie's, her insight here, but slow it down and you'll be able to crack it open a little bit better, okay? So that's one thing. So Valerie's overall, this is, I don't want Valerie going back and, you know, doing this. I think everybody can see that Valerie is really working on this, and that's great, okay? Now let me go through a couple of others, and again, the same thing with everybody else's. Let me go through Avalon's here. And point out a couple things. Same type of thing does happen with it. Excellent summary up here. This is really good. Now remember, all of this, at the end of the semester, actually a little bit before, I'm going to ask you to go through and copy this whole thing like that. And you guys know how to select. I assume if you're in an online class, you know how to do that. And then I'm right-clicking, copy it. And then if I open up a Word file, let's just say I open up a Word file. What you're going to be doing with this is, and you guys know how to do this, I think, pasting the whole darn thing into a journal. This is going to be a collection of all your writing by the end of the semester. And you can see that Avalon here is well on her way to making, you're going to have about 20 pages by the end of the semester. That's what you need. Avalon's going to have that, okay? So let me get rid of that. But just so you see, that's what we're heading towards. So being thorough is more important than being exact according to the directions. The directions, however, are really so that you can sharpen your skills to get ready for the essay. And this is what Avalon has for her metaphors. And all the time a voice kept saying, "You fool, don't you know you're walking straight into trouble?" That's a bit of a metaphor. It's a very odd one. And that is, but let's see what she wrote here. Then I'll get to slowing it down a little bit. This is a metaphor because the sentry really doesn't really have a voice that is speaking to him. It's just his own thoughts and feelings. Okay, sorta, yeah. But this can be developed. Notice that what Avalon's done is she's got too many things compressed into one sentence, and I do want you to break it into 3 different parts. What is literally being talked about? What kind of words are being used? And then why is that important? Okay. What Avalon is onto is that, first of all, what literally is going on here is the sentry is saying that he did not really know what he was doing and felt like he should do something differently than what he was doing. Okay, that's literally what's going on. He uses the language to talk about his thoughts as if they are a separate person inside of him. So that's what it is. It's as if a separate person is having a conversation with him, but there isn't any separate person there. Why is that important? Because the crisis that he's facing has literally split his consciousness open. So that's what's happening. He's getting split into 2 different people because he's getting torn by his fear of Creon that he's going to get punished, but his obligation to report that a crime's been committed. So that's the analysis of it. Now, and again, Avalon could take it differently. So Avalon's going in the right direction, but just needs to slow it down and go into more detail with it. And that's really the nature of the metaphor machine. It slows things down, breaks things apart, and then you can see it a little more carefully. Okay, so Avalon's going in the right direction with it. Let me go through a couple more in the other class. And again, but I don't want Avalon going back in there and rewriting it. Okay, and you know what? Let me see if I can pull one up. Let me see. No, let's go to the other class here. And I'll go through Cameron's. Cameron's really goes into a lot of details, and so does Mary's. So I want to show you some of these. You know what Cameron did here? Really spelled it out, and this neatness with it. I appreciate it. It doesn't have to be that way. Notice that this is going to be a lot of good writing by the end of the semester, and it's going to make for a really good journal. So I really want to point out that Cameron's putting in excellent work, and that's going to pay off at the end with an excellent journal. And remember that journal is worth 100 points, as much as an essay. So this writing right here really helps out. It's easier to generate discussion area writing. It's generating a lot of volume, and that's an important thing to be able to do, because that's how you explore your ideas, is in the writing itself. Okay, so that's what she's got here, and this is going to make for a really excellent journal by the end. Again, copy it and then paste it in the journal should be great. And these metaphors are going to go in there too. Okay. Now she's done it the right way. Remember I showed you the one person did 3 different metaphors per scene. Didn't have to do that. Okay, but that's fine. I know. She's done it this way, and she's got probably the closest to what I'm looking for. Okay. But once again, I want to really emphasize, I'm going to point out an issue with Cameron's, and I don't want Cameron going back in there thinking, oh, I've got to do better. You've done very well. Gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that our ship estate, which recent storms have threatened to destroy, has come safe to harbor at last, guided by the merciful wisdom of heaven. Now, that is definitely a metaphor. That is, and a number of you have actually picked up on this one. Literally what's being talked about is that the state of the people in Thebes during the war with 2 brothers. Okay. He's talking about the state right after the war. And they're literally dealing, yeah, it's not really a war, but I guess a battle, but whatever. Right after the war of the 2 brothers, and that's good. So Cameron's got a handle of what is literally being talked about here. The type of language was that used of sailors. I guess it is kind of sailors, but it's definitely dealing with the sea and being guided by something, like as if there's a star up there. But it's definitely, the language is that of sailors. Okay. Well, why do that? Why separate? But, notice he's not talking to a bunch of sailors and thieves. See, thieves was inland. Why do that? This doesn't quite get the analysis of why use sailor language when talking to the people after war. Maybe this type of language was used due to the fact that it was common for people to be familiar with naval resources. Probably not. But why talk this way after war? Well, if you start thinking about it, and it doesn't explain really why talk this way about war. And that's what you're really looking for, because you've got war here, or right after war, and you've got sailors here. So you've got your 1 and 2 right on the mark. Why this, incongruous language here? And that's what metaphors are. They just don't match. And it's for a reason. So I would say, now again, you don't have to agree with my analysis, is the vulnerability of sailors to be victims at sea, and where they can't really do anything about it. So it really is the language that you would use talking to sailors, because the city of Thebes was at the mercy of this warfare that went on between the brothers. And they had no control over it. So it showed that they had no control over what was going on, much as sailors don't have control over their ship when they're at sea if they're hit by a storm or something like that. So these recent storms. And the heavens have been the kind of the guiding light. So that's what I would say with it. Just be a little more careful with the analysis. Why this type of language with this type of situation? Think of that with the analysis. And again, I want to be clear, you can come up with different answers on the analysis. You definitely can. But do go for these kind of thorough one. Cameron really broke it down and did a good job, and you can see that. Now again, I want to emphasize, and I'll hold it there on this, so everybody should now have a good idea of what they're trying to do, really what they're looking for. Mary did a really good one too. I saw this, and she really went at it. She went after the same metaphors and broke it down. I know this is very mechanical, but what I'm trying to do with it is give you a methodology, a way to break it apart. When we come to the first essay, what we're going to do is make it flow more effectively. And the sentence I really want to keep grinding into everybody is that slow thinking is good thinking. And what this metaphor machine does is a way to slow down the way we break apart metaphors and understand them. Because metaphorical language is a huge part of the English language. All languages use metaphors. English uses it like crazy, more often than most other modern languages. It really does. It's a highly metaphorical language. And it always betrays kind of something with what the speaker is doing and how he or she sees the situation and wants you, the listener or the reader, to see the situation. The metaphors betray that. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get you to slow it down a little bit. And you guys are moving in the right direction and just getting used to this. So again, slow thinking is good thinking. Okay, so now if you've sat through this whole video, I've got a few important announcements. Number one thing, make sure you always sit through all the videos all the way through. Almost all the questions I get are related to things I cover on the videos. Most of them are. So a big announcement, I do want everybody to know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paragraphs away as an assignment for the class. I'm having to revise my assignments very thoroughly for the Online English 101 for a number of reasons, because we're having to revise the way we present materials, and mine are all in PDFs, and we're not allowed to use the PDFs any longer. And so what I'm doing is revising all my lessons as I go through this semester, and all those revisions are going to get really complicated, and I can see messes up ahead if I have you guys do all those new paragraph assignments along with the essays. So what I'm going to do is take the paragraphs out as an assignment from the class. I put them in early on because that's what I've done in the past, but I'm finding it's probably going to create more problems than create a good learning experience. So what we're going to do is stick with the essays as the primary writing assignment for the class. And we're going to I'm going to show you on the calendar, I'm going to put a video up tomorrow. You should be done with all of the summaries by the end of the day tomorrow. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to start working on the first essay with you and walk you through how all the work you've done so far is going to help you put together the early draft of the essay. And I'll do that tomorrow on Friday. So expect that tomorrow. I'm going to go over the essay and get you ready for it. But I just want everybody to know we're going to take out the paragraph assignments. And I'm going to not assign those to anybody. That's going to be a little bit less work on you. and we're going to focus just primarily on the essay, which is going to be due on Tuesday. I'll go over it with you on Friday. You'll be able to write it over the next few days and then turn it in on Tuesday, and then we'll start on the Shoah. Make darn sure, everybody should make sure you've ordered the grammar book and ordered Shoah, because you're going to need both of those starting next week. I'll start posting lessons on that. Okay? Take care.